Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. After loads of roster mania questions over the last couple of weeks, FNS has finally revealed exactly why he has decided not to compete for the upcoming season, and mainly it's a financial concern, revealing that many of the salaries in the VCT over the last couple of seasons have gone down so drastically that even competing at all makes less sense even for a guy like FNS than actually streaming on a full-time basis. That doesn't mean that he isn't keen to compete if the opportunity was to arise, but for various reasons in the state of esports, this makes more sense for guys like FNS and Som right now than actually to play at the highest level. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, I thought this is kind of interesting. This BGMI is a Battlegrounds mobile as well. Just had to check on that one. But this is the top guy founder over at Global Esports saying that in addition to their main Global Esports Valorant roster, which, they did okay the other day. They played that Convergence tournament. They got a victory against Fury, impressively so. They lost, of course, to Vitality in some degree of controversial fashion, given the reaction after the fact of their first series. But as he goes on to say, looking for 5 BGMI and Valorant players from India who don't care about salary, and we'll talk salary in a second with FNS, but want to dedicate the next 12 to 18 months of their life to only focus to be the best goddamn competitive athletes the Indian sports ecosystem has ever seen, will provide all the resources to get you there. So really cool stuff. Only requirement, hunger to win. So really cool idea to, because we've seen recently the likes of DRX, for example, as we even see right here, are, they won the Esports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Heroes of the Year here for the DRX guys, and we had Zest and RB here as well, which I thought was quite nice to see. As RB over here on the right hand side, Zest of course over the left, so really cool stuff from these guys. But we saw them bring in Flashback recently and bring in Foxy9. Maybe we'll talk about King, maybe if that happens over the coming weeks. I imagine there's going to be some roster changes confirmed at some point in the near future by various teams, of course. But we've seen those guys bring in people like Flashback from their academy system, and that program maybe the Global Esports guys are also trying to follow through with as well. But congratulations to these guys for the nomination, Heroes of the Year, Esports Hall of Fame induction. Thought that was kind of cool. There's also to mention though, for sure, on the challenges side in especially North America, but also around the world. So Valorant Esports NA mentions that 2024 is nearly here, and that means it's time to get your NA Game Changer squad together. So Open Qualifier number 1 registration opens on January the 4th, and competition starts on January the 23rd. So that is the plan, that is the time frame for NA Game Changers qualification. Now, this should be aligned pretty similarly with the Challengers qualification. We know full well that some Challenger teams are still going to be there next season, but many organizations have left, many teams have been dropped, and some teams have merged. So there's plenty of spots open in Challengers for next season that need to be qualified into, and we still don't know, as of recording, when those qualifiers are going to be. Last year, for example, these were the playoffs for Challengers, of course, where M80 and the Guard qualified to go all the way through to Ascension. Moist Moguls just fell short. There was, of course, this relegation play-in tournament as well, where Turtle Troop and Aura Esports confirmed their spot to continue, and Mad Lions and Disguised were gone. So that opened some spots up, of course, but also let's just look at Split 2, for example. We see here that some of these teams are now gone entirely. The Guard, they got promoted, so they're gone, and G2, they of course left to become the Guard in some ways, and then Moist Moguls and Shopify Rebellion combined. TSM dropped their team, FaZe are out of there as well, so there's loads of teams here, and some of those teams will retain their spots, but there's plenty of different teams that are required to qualify through to this, again, for the new season. Now, last year, the qualification stages were in 2 parts. The first qualifier was January the 9th to the 10th. That was this year's, I guess, 2023's Open Qualifier, first stage. Then there was the second stage, which ran to the 14th. And then the next weekend was the LCQ, which was the top 32, where Squirtle Squad, if you guys remember, they won this one, and Aura Esports as well. So they qualified through in the last chance qualifier part of this. And I think this is, it's basically the same screenshot I had somewhere else. So those were the dates last season, but we've seen today that they've confirmed the Game Changers dates, which are going to be qualification opens for registration on the 4th, but our competition's on the 23rd. So, and also you would hope at the very least that these don't clash, because I think we'd like to see Game Changers teams try and, why not? Why not play in the main qualifiers as well? So I'm hoping that's a possibility at least, and it doesn't clash, because if, the dates are similar to last year, then the LCQ would end on the 23rd for the main stuff, and then, the Game Changers would start, the day after or the same day or whatever. So I guess we'll see, but I'm just a bit confused why they've confirmed the dates for Game Changers, but they haven't yet confirmed the dates for qualifiers for the main North American Challengers League, unless it's going to be even after that, which would be surely rather too late. So I'm guessing some confirmation on that is going to come kind of soon, but I know there's been talk from many of the Challengers players, like, all right, guys, when are we going to get the confirmation on when these qualifiers are going to be? Because the qualifiers have to happen before the regular splits can start, because you need the 12 teams, or whatever the number of teams is going to be this time around. We'll also just quickly mention, we know that 100 Thieves have basically leaked absolutely everything with regard to their team. We know it's going to be Boostio. We know how it is. But I thought it was kind of funny that Boostio even liked this tweet to say that about our fifth and everything. E.g. Boostio liked it. So Valent's like, oh, is it true? There's no way. Surely not. After all the talking points, there's no way possibly that actually E.g. Boostio is going to be a thing to 100T. But I think we can make some reasonable presumptions on this at the very moment. Now, we've also got to talk, though, about this FNS situation, because I think it came to a big surprise to many, that FNS and SOM have decided not to compete for the upcoming year. Now, they will compete still if they got the dream offer. If they were given the bag and said, look, build your team around you as you would like to, and let's go for championship victories. But given the option between either not doing so, because on NRG they wanted to make changes, possibly, let's not forget, we thought that FNS was going to be IGLing Sentinels for some time before we then figured out that it was actually Gen.G instead. Now, could SOM on NRG still be a very valuable asset? I think absolutely yes. FNS, of course, look what he did with an Optic team not long ago, and of course it was, Envy not long before that. And then becoming NRG was very impressive, but the question has been exactly why are FNS and SOM not going to compete? We've heard them say that, sure, if they get a dream offer and a team wants to give them the keys, they'll go for it and they can get top talent. But outside of that, they're not going to. And you see this with plenty of players that maybe, in FNS's case, still a phenomenal in-game leader, but he's not necessarily the number one pick for some of the teams. Would he prefer to go and play for a lower tier team and just kind of grind out his career getting, trying to qualify internationally, getting 6th to 8th place or whatever where possible? Or would he prefer not to do that? The answer is quite clear, depending, I suppose, on the money situation, because if you're getting paid a bag to still play on a team that's like 8th place in the league, then maybe it's worth it. But if you're not, and you're also not going to win, then it doesn't make any sense according to him.
Financially, it's actually better for me to just stream than to play, because of how little people are getting paid compared to last year and the year before that and the year before that. Okay, my stream is not a big stream, by the way. Let me clarify that. Like, I don't have a big stream compared to Sam, compared to Tarek, compared to even Yassine. I've not been anywhere near as influential as they have. And yet, even then, I make more money streaming than I would competing. Now, obviously, that is not the only factor that would get me to play, because I care about wanting to win and to compete. But there has to be a certain level in which you can only go this low before it stops making sense. It's easier to compete in a sense that you actually put less hours in because you're putting more quality hours in. More than that, it's the consistent pressure of competing, which is like you don't know if it's worth getting into it. And on top of that, you have to pick the right team. You have to be the right fit for that team. And then, like I said, the financial things, the having to move to LA and competing every single month basically, and then if you lose, you feel like absolute, and you just sit there depressed waiting for the year to end because you only have so few chances to qualify, and there's so many good teams. I have no problem making less money if I have a lineup that's I know is capable of winning. There are only so few events, and I feel like I'm in no rush to make a decision.
So quite fascinating, I think, to hear FNS's point of view on this, and I think his analysis definitely makes sense. And if I was in his position, I think I would probably do a similar thing. Veteran of so many different FPS games, do you really want to be trundling around lower tier teams just making do when you can actually make more money not competing? Sure, you're a competitor, you want to compete, you want to win, but if you don't think you can actually win on a winning team, then it probably makes more sense just to stream. But also this shows that the trajectory of the salaries is quite significantly down. We know that in Europe and certainly in APAC, apart from maybe Bleed Esports with what they're paying Ye and all this other stuff, the salaries are not the same as you get in North America. The last few years in many North American esports, especially Valorant and other games as well, the salaries are pretty mega. Like, these players are getting paid 25, 30k plus a month potentially. We saw at the start of 2023, Cloud9, they realized, all right, we can't afford it. EG, they can't afford it. And basically all of these teams now are in a position where, sure, they get the stipend from Riot, but they have lots of expenses. These organizations, they're trying to live on sponsorships, and in the current economic climate, sponsorships aren't quite as lucrative as maybe they previously were, and lots of these sponsors would prefer to sponsor individual streamers rather than do massive brand deals with organizations. So making money is tough, and lots of these organizations, I think, have been very irresponsible as well, the way they've handled their money. So the chickens are coming home to roost in some respects, and many of these organizations, as a result, they still exist, but they're having to cut salaries pretty dramatically. I think in Valorant there is some sort of a minimum salary. It's probably, 55, 60k a year, something in that ballpark, which is similar maybe in other esports as well. At least it's the same in Call of Duty, something in that number anyway. So it's respectable. But is that really enough to get by, especially living in LA? Not necessarily. So streaming, you get the subscribers, but also right now on Twitch, there are mega ad CPMs. You guys have probably, if you watch any Twitch, you'll have known that ads are running all the time, and that streamers love to drop the ads basically as much as they possibly can. This is because that's what Amazon is pushing Twitch to do, but also these CPM rates on these adverts are crazy. Like, I've seen Devin Nash talk about this. They can get like $20, $30 CPMs easily for, which is basically dollars per 1,000 views. So if you've got 10,000 viewers, you run one ad, you might make, $300 from that. You do that plenty of times to stream again and again and again, it's looking pretty good. Now, I don't know if those ad rates are going to last forever. They're probably not. But right now, Twitch is a very lucrative platform to stream on, and a very lucrative platform to just make content on regardless, even if you're not a massive streamer. Like, he talks about Yassine, Sabrosa, of course, and other guys as well, who are killing it on Twitch, making big money as a result of this stuff. And even FNS is like a smaller creator than some of those guys, is still doing well enough that he's making more than he would be actually playing for a team, which, is a bit of a shame in a way that the economics work in this way, that FNS would prefer to do what he's doing and not compete, because he does want to compete really, but it just doesn't make sense in the current climate. So I get it, and I'm sure other players kind of feel in a similar boat. I imagine FNS just especially so because he's such a veteran, right? If you're a younger player and you haven't really competed for 10, 15 years, then probably competing and streaming at the same time could be, an ideal goal, but that's not always easy for everyone. So I'm sure that some at FNS will continue to bide their time, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below on this one. Just quickly to mention, we did talk yesterday about the Icebox whole thing, Icebox versus Breeze, what map should be in the game, and it's been 239 days, I guess, now, since Icebox was removed from the competitive and unrated map pool, and Durka, of course, a massive lover of Icebox's Fnatic, wants to bring this back ASAP. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.